The more that you dedicate to your craft, the better you will be in whatever you do. It's just that simple.
You're listening to the Dare to Be Different podcast, a podcast for people who want to live an extraordinary life. On this week's episode, Joe and Ed talk about the commitment it takes to become an expert. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Dare to Be Different podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Yet another week of the amazing thing that we call life. Ed, Newell, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. And, at the time we're recording, it's still in the middle of COVID craziness. And I don't know when it's coming up. But, yeah, life is just looking different in this season, huh?
It is. But I will tell you, I heard your voice as you walked in the entrance from my office, and I was like, Ed's here. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your confidence and happiness around me.
Dude, we did those personality tests years and years ago.
Yeah.
And one of your big things was woo.
Winning others over.
Winning others over. And I got to tell you, you have won me. I got a little man crush happening right here. So.
It's taken a decade, but I've finally done it. I've finally won you over.
Speaking of a decade, that is a great segue into our topic today. But before we do that, for those of you who are listening for the first time, the Dare to Be Different podcast is all about living an extraordinary life. And we use 10 words, honest, passionate, 5 words, honest, passionate, adventurous, grateful, and healthy to describe the ways that we feel we can live an exceptional life. And today, we're going to talk about an interesting subject.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about 10 years, and we're going to talk about 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
10,000.
Is that a decade? Is that 10 years?
Well, it just depends on how you think about it. So 10 years or 10,000 hours would be 20 hours a week for 10 years.
Okay.
So, and the reason we're going to talk about that is that I read a book, which a lot of our podcasts, yes, I read a book, and podcast over. Yes, Joe read a book. So there's a book by a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Gladwell. The book's called Outliers, and he studied what makes great people great.
Okay.
So the greats in athletics and intellectual and pretty much anything that people aspire to do. So musically, chess masters. He studied all of these different people. And he said, yes, there are definitely inherent characteristics that those people have that make them good at something, naturally good at something.
Right.
But more important is the dedication they have to their craft. And he came up with this number of 10,000 hours, saying that if you spend 10,000 hours doing something, you have a really good likelihood of becoming an expert at that thing.
So I've heard that number before. So is this the guy that coined that principle of 10,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, I've heard I've heard that is almost the definitive number. I feel like it's just kind of accepted. His theory has just kind of been universally accepted in maybe the leadership community that is the amount of time for you to become, an expert in any given area, whatever your whatever you're tending to focus on. So does that make you an expert in me?
I guess, or maybe you're an expert in me. That's why I light up when you walk through the door. But
yeah, got it. That's interesting. So, you've had various seasons of your life, like where you were, a salesman for many years. Now you've been an entrepreneur for many years, and I guess you had your own other businesses going on too. But do you, in your experience, because you've been live a lot longer than I have, so do you feel like that holds true?
I do. And I do think that there are inherent things that make people better at, and there's people that try to debunk that theory. Right? Like, look, if you're a, short, middle-aged guy, the odds of you being an expert and going and playing in the NBA, you know what I mean? No matter how much you practice are pretty slim.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but again, taking some of those things out of
the equation,
because for our purposes, we're not necessarily saying, hey, go out and be an expert at this. That isn't the point of today's talk. But I do believe that whether it's, using my life, whether it's sales or entrepreneurship or anything like that, the more that you dedicate to your craft, the better you will be in whatever you do. It's just that simple. And I'm not talking about, and I'm talking about dedicate. Not a 10,000 hours that's a huge amount of time.
That's a lot of time. I'm sure there has to be some sort of quality control in those 10,000 hours too, right? Because I think you could spend 10,000 hours being terrible at something and you might not improve.
Right.
You'll be an expert in being terrible at it. But so there has to be some level of quality control. And I almost have to imagine, and I did not read the book, so maybe you can speak to this if he said anything like this, but I also have to imagine beyond that 10,000 hours, a certain level of additional investment to maintain your expertise or continue your growth. Because I could think, would this same principle maybe apply to marriage? Because like you could say maybe after 10,000 hours, I could be quote unquote an expert in marriage. But if you don't keep it up, it's not like you can then just go on cruise control in your marriage and expect it to be good beyond 10,000 hours. There's another level of investment that you still would have to make even beyond that to, I don't know, keep fresh.
Yeah.
I don't know what the term it would be.
And you're kind of getting into the heart of what we should talk about today.
Okay.
Is, no matter what that thing is, whatever that goal is in your life, how do you, how do you accomplish that goal? Whether it's, again, being an expert at something, being, having a great marriage, being healthy,
Sure.
All those types of things. There's a certain level of commitment that is required to be really, 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 really good at that thing. So, first of all, let's just talk about the amount of time.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
So I read this article, and the average American, so 10,000 hours, 20 hours a week for 10 years.
Got
right?
it.
Seems daunting.
Yeah.
Right. Then I'm going to concentrate 20 hours a week on learning to play the piano or going out and running or whatever that thing, working on my marriage, et cetera, et cetera. But the average American spends over 5 hours a day watching TV. The average American, and what's really interesting is, it used to be they would put those little set-top boxes and they would measure 1,000 families and say, you know what I mean, we're going to take this across the whole United States because these 1,000 families did it, right? Now they can get real-time data. Netflix knows how long you're on. Amazon Prime knows how long you're on, et cetera, et cetera. Even Comcast, they have real-time data that they can look at and say, this is how much time Americans spend on TV.
Wow.
And it comes out to 5 hours per day.
That's crazy.
That's a huge amount of time.
That's a huge amount of time.
But again, even my life, who's a very busy person, we go in and veg out in front of the TV every once in a while, know, and so there's definitely people that do a lot more than me, which skews it, or does less, which skews the other way. But average is 5 hours a day.
Wow.
So again, if you look at that and you go, okay, 5 hours a day, man, if I just do, if I cut that in half,
right?
Now I'm at 2.5 hours a day times, times the 7 days. I'm pretty much there.
17-ish hours. Yeah. So you're pretty. Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of making the case that if to a listener, if you're thinking, man, I do not have the capacity to give 10,000 hours, you probably do. There's probably something in your life that you could cut out. There's probably something that you could be more skilled in how you're spending time in that area in order to figure out how to put time where you really would want to put your time.
Right. Or from the other side, just being honest with yourself, saying, I don't want to be that good at anything.
I want to be average.
Well, again, that is, once you're faced with something like that, and I'm having this internal dialogue myself, because there's certain things that I want to do. I want to learn how to play the guitar.
Right.
I know that sounds like a stupid thing, but I could get really good at playing the guitar if I played for 2 hours a day. I can carve out 2 hours a day. There's no doubt in my mind I could carve out 2 hours a day. I would definitely be able to carve out 1 hour. And without a problem, I could carve out a half an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if half an hour a day, every single day for the next couple of years, I would be able to sit around the campfire, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd be decent.
And be a pretty good, definitely enough for me to say, I know how to play the guitar.
Right.
Now it becomes, do I actually want to do that? Am I
Right.
willing to make that sacrifice
Right.
to learn how to play the guitar?
It's more like, it'd be nice if I knew how to play the guitar.
Exactly. I intellectually want to do this thing.
Yeah.
I intellectually want to have a better marriage. I
Yeah.
intellectually want to have a better relationship with my kids. I intellectually want to have more adventures or
Wow.
or be healthier.
Yeah.
I want to, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, and how much? Yeah, exactly. How much do you really want it?
Exactly.
Right? Wow, that's a powerful question, and I think, yeah, again, even for the listeners here, if I could say, if you could become an expert in any one thing, what would that be?
Yes.
That thing. If you begin to go down this rabbit trail, how much do you actually want it? Or is there just something in you that just kind of like, man, it would be nice, or maybe I would like the credit I'd get if I did that, or maybe I would like the attention I got if I did that. That's different than, man, you having like a calling on your life to be an expert in this one given thing. Do you feel like the majority of people after 10 years, do you think the majority of people would say they're an expert at their jobs?
Well, it gets into yes and no. I think it depends on what you're getting out of your job. So for me, you use me as an example. I, without a doubt in the world, if FlexScreen fell apart tomorrow, I could go out and start a new company doing something
Something.
and be successful at it. I'm not bragging.
Yeah.
I just have skills, know-how. I've done the work to study my craft,
Sure.
which is being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I've heard that over and over again, where people are like, if you take a millionaire, a multimillionaire, take everything away from him, drop him in the middle of, suburbia, Pittsburgh, within a couple years, they will be a millionaire again.
He's going to make money.
They know how to do it. So there are people that show up for work and they turn the switch off and they don't learn anymore. It's just like, hey, I just, and there's a term, again, in some of the articles that talk about this concept of the 10,000 hours. There's a term called deliberate practice that they keep pointing to.
Okay.
So it's not enough that you're just doing 10,000 hours of something. You have to be deliberate about the thing that you're doing. So doing your job for 10,000 hours isn't necessarily, furthering your expertise in that.
So that speaks to what I was asking earlier about the quality control.
Yes.
Like, it's not just, it has to be focused. It has to be deliberate. It has to be intentional. You have to be actually working towards something. You can't just roll in, and to your job or into something. If you're trying to play guitar, but you're not, watching a YouTube video on how to do it, you're just sitting in your room, whatever, you're not going to be as good as if you were watching a YouTube video.
Exactly.
Or you had a teacher actually teaching you for that half hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and again, let's go back to the basketball analogy, right?
Sure.
So you have a kid that goes out and just plays around, and you've seen like the funny sitcoms and stuff where the guy goes out, 3, 2, 1, and he misses a shot and he goes back. Oh wait, no, the 3, like that's not deliberate. That's playing.
Right.
That's enjoying yourself. That's
Right.
great. And there's, you want to have an enjoyable life and things like
Yeah.
that. But this is deliberate practice. This is standing at the free throw line and throwing free throws for an
2
hour a
hours.
day,
Yeah.
then going and doing
Wow.
layups for an hour a day, and
Wow.
then playing against somebody that's better than you, and then redoing those drills over and over and over again. It's deliberate practice. For an entrepreneur, it's reading, it's studying,
Yeah.
it's getting a mentor and working through your business. Helping to understand, working, going to night classes, doing things to help you understand your business better, so that you become an expert at those things.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be an expert in anything after this conversation.
And it's but okay. So let's take it from activities to relationships,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So now you go, hey, I want to be an expert in having a great relationship with my wife.
Right. Right.
What are the things that you're doing for 2 hours a day
Yeah.
to make that happen?
Right.
Or let's just say that you have the long game and you're like, okay, I'm going to spend 1 hour a day, but we're going to be together for 20 years, so I'm good.
I'll eventually get the hours in.
Yeah. Or hopefully we live a while. I got a
Yeah.
half an hour a day, so we're
Right.
going to be. But what are those things that you're doing to accomplish that goal?
That's really good. I think it's a really thought-provoking thought, because thought-provoking idea in that specifically, you think of the concept of maybe a relationship. You can't fake it. You can't put it on cruise control. These have to be quality hours. And going into the relationship line, you need that date night to continue to have focused attention on your spouse. You gotta do the thing that's going to allow you guys to advance the relationship and not just let it continue as is and then wonder why you're on the brink of divorce one day.
Right.
So you can't like question that. In a business, if you're wondering why my business isn't growing, but you're just kind of on cruise control, showing up every day, maybe you really feel like you're putting in the hours, but to be honest, you're not putting in quality hours. You're not doing the night classes. You're not reading the books. There's a reason why your business isn't growing, or there's a reason why you aren't growing. So yeah, when you think about that first question you were kind of posing about maybe we didn't have the time, we really do have the time. Then look at the time you're spending. How quality is that time? The
Right.
time you're investing into the things that you are investing into right now, how focused are you on those actual activities?
Yeah, and again, you can look at it for anything. Your health. I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
Are you spending even an hour a day, improving your health?
Right.
Again, for the vast majority of Americans,
They're not.
including me,
Yeah.
they're
not.
They're not. And so again, it's you had mentioned it before. First of all, you have to identify your what. What is the thing that you want in your life
Right.
that is big enough for you to put that type of commitment into.
Right.
And there are, if you really think about this, and you lay in bed at night and you say, what do I want to accomplish in my life? What are the things that are important to me? You'll come up with quite a few whats. There's some big things that I want. I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Again, it's one of those crazy things.
Yeah.
But I have to do a couple things. I have to save up. It's an expensive trip. You know what I mean? I have to be able to climb a mountain for
extended period of
yeah,
time.
it takes like 2
I
weeks.
can't even go up my stairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have to set myself up so that I can do that. Now, will that take 10,000 hours? No, it won't take. But it's still a goal that I have to take steps to make it happen. So you have to identify your what.
Yep.
But then I think just as important is identifying your why. Because without the why, the what falls away really, really quick.
Yep.
Why do I want to learn how to play the guitar? Well, guess what? The fact of the matter is my why is not big enough for me to spend a half an hour a day right now.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's great.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, if your why isn't big enough, you're going to find all the excuses to right away the what that you need to do.
Exactly. And then that your 5 hours of TV time becomes more important than the what.
Right.
And so
Whenever I was aiming to, and I still am running a lot, but I wanted to do a half marathon. I still have never run one. I had it on the agenda to run it early this year. Quarantine, COVID, shut all the races down. Didn't happen. And then I got discouraged and I fell away from running. But I've since picked it back up. But the Nike Run Club app that I use, you put in when your race is, how much you're running right now, how much you weigh right now. Like you put in all this data, and then it auto-populates a plan from where you are to get where you need to go.
Right.
In theory, you got to learn how to do that for yourself. Like if you have the what that you want to accomplish and you have the why, my why was a lot related to my health, which ties back to family and all kinds of things. But if you can identify the what and the why that you actually want to accomplish, you can then backtrack to today to decide, okay, what do I need to do today in order to really get that? It could seem daunting if the what and the why that you write down seems like it's 10,000 hours away. But if you really do back it up, if your why is strong enough, you're going to get there and you'll be able to navigate it.
Yeah, and 10,000 hours isn't there's not a magic number. It's more of number one, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So you running a half marathon, there's little victories along the way that happen. There's
5K,
I did a 5K. I ran out and did a pace that I've never done before, and I've done it longer than I ever have.
Right.
So it's not that you have to hit 10,000 hours to quote unquote succeed.
Right.
It's just saying that you have to be dedicated enough to say, if it does take 10,000 hours, if I want to become, because again, if you want to become a really amazing long distance runner, you can do it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind, you could go out and do it, other than your body completely failing, but most of it's going to be in your head.
Right.
If you spend 10,000 hours over the next 5 to 10 years, however long it takes you to do that, you're going to be an amazing long distance runner at the end of that.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible for it not to happen.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
But you have to get there. You know, your why has to be strong enough.
Yeah, that's good. Is there principles in place to set up those markers along the way? Like if I am setting up a plan, if I am setting up a path to get to my end goal, did he write at all about how often maybe you should have a marker or a win? Because I feel like I want to win every day.
Sure.
You know?
And his book wasn't necessarily a how-to. It was more of identifying.
Philosophy.
Yes, it was more of bigger picture. Like, you know, Michael Jordan isn't Michael Jordan just because he is a fantastic, you know, physical specimen. Although he is, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, it was that plus.
Right.
You know, I had a family member who, when he was in high school, wanted to, like, his entire goal was to go play in the NFL. Like that was it. He was very good at football.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is, his why wasn't strong enough. You know what I mean? And he practiced a lot. But the difference between him, who had great physical attributes, was an amazing high school football player, et cetera, the difference between him, and this isn't a shot at him at all, but the difference between him and the guys that actually make it to the NFL is the guys that make it to the NFL are willing to do whatever it takes. You know, it's not like, oh my gosh, I dread two-a-days. It's like, bring it on, because I'm going to be practicing before everybody else starts, and I'll be practicing after everybody else quits.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that brings you down to a very, very small percentage of elite athletes, elite intellectuals, elite musicians, elite relationships, you know, all of those types of things. I mean, there are people that work on their marriage every single day.
Yeah.
And we look at them and go, man, they're so lucky to have a spouse like that or whatever. Like, no, they work their butts off. They're not that nice of people. They just, you know, yes, they're nice people, because if you're miserable, it's hard to have a great relationship.
Right.
But yes, they're nice people, but they work at it, and they have great relationships, and they go on date nights, and they leave their phones in the cars, and they have family dinner, and they go to counseling, even though there's nothing wrong in their marriage. They want to just be better. So
yeah, no, I probably have shared this on the podcast before, but for my own personal health, if I'm trying to make an advancement in any area, I have had this little, saying in my head that I want to win the day. So if there is something I'm really aiming for, and normally they're mid to long-term goals, nothing 10,000, I don't have any 10,000 hour goals. Maybe I need one, but I want to win the day. So if it is about being healthy, I want to do something today that's going to allow me to say, I succeeded today in my health.
Right.
If I am working, if I, you know, want my marriage to improve today, I want to do something that will say, man, yeah, I was successful in my marriage today. And so I do kind of break it down to a day-to-day process for myself. And in that sense, I do try to take things one day at a time. Because for me, I feel like if I even start to look like a week or a month ahead, I really do feel like I get a little overwhelmed. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do X thing. Certainly, if I start thinking in 10,000 hours, I'm going to get overwhelmed. But if I can break it down to a day, and the Nike Run Club app did that for me when it came to running. But if I can break it down to a day, that is attainable for me, and I can do that.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the keys is you have to learn how to measure your progress.
Yeah.
So you do get those wins. You do get those things that keep you motivated through the whole process. Because again, you know, even again, it's more difficult to do with relational types of things. But there's definitely measurements, like we didn't fight today.
Right.
Win. You know, like we did better than we did yesterday. Or you know, we were able to have a discussion without things you know, getting into, you know, heated things that happened 3 years ago, whatever those, again, from relationship side.
Yeah.
You know, my children came over for Sunday dinner without complaining about it. Again, you know, it's
that's
just
a win.
That's a win. So you have to learn how to measure your progress along those 10,000 hours.
Yeah. Have I told you that I'm not eating meat? Do you know this about me?
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that.
So maybe I have mentioned it. I haven't eaten meat all this year, all of 2020.
Red meat, right?
No meat.
No, so no chicken.
No,
But you're doing fish though, right?
I was doing fish. I'm not doing fish anymore.
So you're
Not doing
like
seafood.
vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
Wow.
And people ask me all the time, how long are you going to do this? I have no idea how long I'm going to do this. I'm not trying to put a limit on it. I'm saying I'm going to do it one day at a time, you know, and I have had to be so proactive on how to educate myself on food. And when I find a day that I fail to eat well, and maybe it's a day where I'm eating a lot of carbs, typically it's because of a lack of education. I did not educate myself on what I actually need to do to be successful in that day. So I have a whole lot of other why reasons that I'm actually aiming to do that. I'm not going to go into that. But for me, I have to put in the hours. Like I have to put in deliberate, intentional effort and work to learn about food, what food does to my system, the types of foods I need to eat, the types of food I need to have more of now that I'm not eating meat. So all of these things have played into this. If I'm going to be successful in this, I have to have purposeful time spent every day to educate. So it's not only making sure I'm eating right, but in between meals, the things that I'm reading right now are all about food and nutrition and diet, because I'm realizing like if I'm going to have any continued measure of success, and now I'm 7 months into the year, but if I'm going to have any continued measures of success, it's going to be because I'm putting deliberate time invested into making this work.
And that was actually my next tip. So it was like know how to measure the progress and then learn. You have to learn, whatever that thing is, that goal that you have to learn more about it.
Yeah.
And and we're kind of running short on time, but learn and then deliberate practice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you know how to measure your progress. You learn from the experts, figure out what the thing is, and continue learning.
Right.
And then put in deliberate practice. Which is not doing stuff while you're distracted. Again, whatever that thing is, you can't be on your iPhone trying to shoot hoops, to get better, or out running and things like that.
Yeah.
You should be like, if you want to be an elite long distance runner, you have to be concentrating on running. How's my form going?
Yeah.
What's my pace?
Yeah.
What's my heart rate? This is the things that they do. They deliberately practice.
Yeah. That's good. When I was picking up running, I literally had friends sending me YouTube videos on how to run properly.
Right.
And I was watching these videos thinking, I run like an idiot.
Like you're like Phoebe on Friends. You're like waving your arms around.
I had to learn how to run properly. You might think, well, anybody can run. It's like, no, actually there's a lot of form that actually goes into running well that will make you more successful. Yeah. I can't speak highly enough about the value of education around particular topics in order to be successful. Most people just say, well, if I'm doing it, I'm going to pick it up and learn how to do it. But there is so much value in learning it and that deliberate practice.
It is. And the last tip is to take risk. So again, none of this happens without having some risk involved. And that could be, when you're out running, you're taking some physical risks. Like, hey, I'm going to go a little bit further than I did yesterday, and that's a risk. Or, I'm going to go. My wife and I are going to go to counseling to learn how to be better, and I'm going to take a risk because I'm going to be uncomfortable there, and it might be a terrible experience, but it might be a great experience. I want to climb Kilimanjaro. Like that's a big risk, and so. Taking risks is part of this journey. We call it being adventurous, but it's taking some risks along the way. So
that's really good.
So just to recap here, so that we can be. By the way, this podcast thing in 20 years, we're going to be really good at it.
Hopefully. If you think we're good now, you just wait.
I know
for another 10,000 hours.
But this is one of those things that we are doing. Like this is one of our 10, to me anyway, this is one of the 10,000 hour things that we do. I study, my team and I look at what makes great podcasts, what's coming in the future, what sort of things, we also, I study on the topics and things like that. And then we actually do it. And this is in a lot of ways, it's practice.
It is.
I feel that we're better today than we were when we started. And, and in a year we'll hopefully be better, or our listeners will go down and down and down.
And we'll know we're not getting better.
But so the tips for today to get to your 10,000, to get to that goal, that thing that you believe will give you an exceptional and an extraordinary life. Identify your what, figure out what that thing is, find your why, get your motivation, really, really make it strong in your mind. Learn how to measure your progress, know how to measure your progress, learn from the experts. Look, man, we are living in the age of too much information. There is no topic that you cannot learn about online for free today.
Yep.
And again, I talked about college courses, as far as, learning stuff about your business and things like that. I took a lot of courses online that I don't get credit for them or anything like that, but I get the education, and they're amazing, amazing classes that you get for free online. Like
That's cool.
it's awesome the amount of information that's out there. Deliberately practice whatever that thing is, whatever your what is that's going to, or whatever is going to get you to that what, and then take some risks. So those are the key points from today's podcast.
Love it.
And I'm all juiced up, man. I want to go do something now.
I want to go running right now or do something to feel like I'm bettering my life.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for being a part of today's podcast, and hopefully we brought a little motivation to some of our listeners.
Absolutely.
Because I've had a chance to talk to quite a few people that listen to our podcast, and man, I see great things in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it's just that little motivation. It's just that, man, just give them something to go out and start that 10,000 hour journey. And hopefully if you're listening at home, you're starting today. Don't put it off till tomorrow. Start that 10,000 hour journey today. Shut the TV off. Stop watching Friends for the 30th time or Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
So get out and start your 10,000 hour journey. So thank you so much for listening to the Dare to Be Different podcast. If you know somebody that needs to hear what we talked about today, please send this off to them. Like us, follow us, subscribe, do all of the things that you should do to bring value to us and to your friends. We love you. We will catch up with you next week. Thanks.